You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
The heavens are moved by his direction and obey him in peace. Day and night accomplish the course assigned to them by him without hindrance one to another. The sun and the moon and the dancing stars, according to his appointment, circle in harmony within the bounds assigned to them without any swerving aside. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. I have as co-host with me this evening, Cathy Dunson. Cathy, are you there, sister?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody.
Excellent. And we've got a whole host of individuals from all over the world. This is truly an international call, and I do want to thank the guys for staying up and making this show possible. Cathy, if you would, can you introduce, and then we'll get each of the guys to come on as we go.
Sure. We have Steve Torrence, and we have Mike Cavanaugh, and I don't think Dr. Zach has woken up yet.
Okay, great. Steve, do you want to just say hello, and if you would, share where people can go to find you, your contact information, website, anything relevant of that nature.
Yeah, how you doing? I think, Cathy, I think you meant to say Sander. Zach is not going to be here.
Oh, okay, Sander.
Yeah, we are waiting for him. I don't know where he's at. Maybe he didn't wake up yet. Not sure what the time is. You can find my YouTube channel just by typing in, I believe, Steve Flat Earth or Steve Torrence Flat Earth. I'm also Steve Torrence on Facebook, and that's about all I have.
All right. Hey, we appreciate you, brother. And Mike, would you like to say hello as well, and where people can go to find your work?
Hi, I'm Mike Cavanaugh, and I work closely with Steve Torrence. I don't actually have any work of myself published on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. It's FE Astronomy. Nothing much is on there yet. I haven't been very outspoken about what I do. Most of what I do I share with Steve on Steve's channel. Basically, all we do you can find on his channel.
All right, excellent. And for those that are not familiar with Steve's work, the videos that he's produced and the stuff that he's put out, it is most certainly fantastic. Do take the time to check it out, peruse his material, and also we will put Cathy, can you drop some links to maybe a few short videos? Yeah, in the chat for those of you that might be interested. But let's talk about your project, the things that you're working on. And I know you guys have been, kind of like mad scientists working in the background on a particular something. And so if you would, can you describe that, and only what you're willing to share, of course. But Steve, we'll go to you first, and then we'll go to Mike.
Well, lately, what we've been working on is doing comparisons between views based on a flat Earth model or a globe Earth model. And in some cases, there are differences, small differences. Some cases, there are big differences. Sometimes we're not even sure what we're going to find until we finish modeling it. And that's basically what we've been focusing on in the last couple months. Mike has also started something recently, which is probably will be ready to show something in, I think this weekend, he said. You can correct me on that, Mike. And it's more along the lines of, well, I'll let you say, Mike, because you definitely have a better handle on it than I do.
Yeah, Mike, if you would.
Yeah, what I am trying to build is basically an electromagnetic firmament, because I'm of a very strong opinion that is how the mechanics of the sky actually work. Everything seems to be electromagnetic, and If you follow the sun's path, for instance, you can see that it basically follows some form of electromagnetic flux line. It's never a straight line, although the sun moves in a straight line on the equator, for instance, but it also moves in a circle at the midnight sun, for instance.
Right.
So you create a paradox with that simply because you have a straight line and a circle, and you cannot create a circle with a straight line, and vice versa also. So I just started to wonder how does it work, because I couldn't get it to work, and as soon as I started overlaying some magnetic field lines on top of the azimuthal equidistant projection, I just started to get an idea of how to model it, and that's basically what we are building now, is a very complex system of magnetic field lines.
Excellent. Let me ask you this with regard to your model and the electromagnetics of it. Do you ascribe to it the whole enclosed world system working like a battery, and that the sun is almost like that the motion and the movement that it's creating, fueling, charging the energy of the enclosed world system? And also, do you think that the salt water and also the freshwater systems of the ocean have something to do in contributing to that, that energy system?
Yeah, I think so. What I noticed in the rough draft we made a couple of weeks ago is that as soon as you animate all the motions of the sun's path over a year time span, you basically see that the north is expanding in some form of current. The current is increased, and that's why the firmament is moving north and south. Where that current is coming from, I don't know. And if the Earth is actually working as a battery, could be, but I don't like to claim things as certain, because I don't know. I think you are right, but I have no evidence for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, since all of us have kind of had to reconsider as paradigm the entire system of where we live and who we are, and we're going to go into those stories here right after, but we're learning and rediscovering all the mechanics, the dynamics of how everything works. And we first need people to accept in postulation this particular premise, and then once they have done so, then they are able to contribute their own thinking and imagination and process of creative discovery to the whole thing of really finding out how all this came together, and how it all works, and how the Most High put it together. And so and
it's become a very addictive to me, because I really want to find out how this big clock works.
Yeah, certainly.
I cannot get it out of my head, so to speak. It's a 24-hour process.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, myself as well, in awakening to this in 2015, and then applying what I had learned to, because my field is to study the extra biblical material, and there was a portion of the Book of Enoch, the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries, which I was never able to understand, and it was because I was filtering all of the information, all the scriptures and the description of the motions of the celestials to the filter of a heliocentric mindset. And because of that, I was unable to decrypt that. But then after I applied it to the Earth as a flat circular plane and the description of those motions, because Enoch says from east to west and then north back to the east, which in my opinion is a circle, that looking at that and then describing, applying that to the Earth as a clock's face, I was then able to make sense of what he was talking about. And ever since that time, I've been really consumed with studying and looking into all the extra biblical and even the canonical material to re-examine all that is being said therein.
Yeah, and especially I'm very new to Scripture, and just recently I rediscovered something in Genesis 1. Sometimes you have to read a specific chapter 100 times and you still discover new things, because we have a very basic understanding of what the text actually says, and we as humans have misinterpreted the text for a good part of 2,000 years.
Yes.
So it would be very arrogant and ignorant of us to say that we fully understand what it says.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to Enoch and the heavenly luminaries, it still is a real mystery to me what he is actually describing. Especially when you take the east and west portals for the sun and the moon. I've been trying to get that a picture of that in my head, how that would work on top of a circular model, and I just couldn't get that to work. And just recently, I just took a different approach. Enoch says that the sun moves and comes out of the eastern portals of the heaven. Well, the heaven is a singular word, and when you go back to Genesis 1, it says God created the heaven and the earth. That's two separate realms. And he also said that the light, he created two greater lights, one greater light to rule the day and a lesser light to rule the night. But he Genesis never mentions the sun. It only mentions a greater light, and he put the greater light and he put the lights in the firmament. And Enoch says that the sun is in heaven. So I think that the sun is not in this realm, but its light is in the firmament. You get it?
So you think it's projecting through the lens to create the ball of light that we see circling in our skies?
Yes.
That's very interesting. I will send you something, because I wrote my 9th book on the flat Earth as key to decrypt the Book of Enoch, and I'm not saying it's correct, but it seems to fit all that Enoch is describing with regard to the portals and the 6 gates of heaven and everything. And it's like a 15-minute clip, but I'll share it with you after.
Okay.
But I'd like for each of you to talk about your journey of awakening and what led you to be interested in this particular model, and also how it has affected your life. And but before we go into that, is there anything that anybody would like to say? Cathy, would you like to comment before we go into that? Or Steve, did you have a comment on what we were talking about with regard to the the enclosed world being a battery system or anything of that nature? Steve?
Well, I've seen the some things about it being a battery. I've looked at that quickly, but it's I guess it's not something that interested me so much to model. I was more interested in the positions and how the data that we know is correct, that comes from sources like JPL and these same data that are used in the automatic telescope trackers and many other things, like any of those star walk type of programs on tablets and stuff. That data is correct. If you find a particular object that is directly over your head, it is directly over your head. If that object were to fall out of the sky and come directly down, it would land on your spot. So I knew that the data was correct in that sense, but I had to make sense of it in a visual sense so that objects would rise and set, because geometrically, as you probably know, in a typical flat Earth model on a typical AE map, that just doesn't happen. I mean, geometrically, without the atmosphere or the water that's above us or the firmament, whatever you want to call it, without that functioning, it doesn't work. I mean, you would see the sun and you would see the moon 24 hours a day. You would see the stars a lot differently than we see them. They would look like a flat plane that was over us, and as they got on the other side of the North Pole, they would look further away and perspective would play its part, but they wouldn't look like they look now, which is in a spherical nature, where they come up, they go over us, and they go down on the other side. So I was initially interested in getting everything in the position, basically transforming the data from a spherical coordinate system to a flat coordinate system, a polar centered flat coordinate system. And that took a couple months to transform the data and get the data from them and get it working in the model and fill in the missing pieces. And once that was done, I was sort of stuck as far as why the objects weren't setting and rising, but I always felt that solution would come at the right time. And it came around last year when I was working on a project in Hungary on Lake Balaton. And in that case, we were dealing a lot with refraction, trying to make sense of the videos and the pictures that came out of that test. And we had some interesting pictures where refraction was involved, where reflection was involved. And my mind was focused a lot on refraction. And that's when I figured out that refraction at least was the visual key for seeing what we saw. And that's when I was able to model that and do things like star trails and proper sunsets and sunrises. I know it's not perfect. And that's when Mike came along, and he was interested in it as far as I got it, but felt that we could perfect it. And perfect it by incorporating magnetics as sort of field lines that these apparent objects, because I think that we have a lot of clues that the sun itself is not creating light in the sense of like NASA would show it, this ball of fire in the middle of the solar system and projecting light and, reaching the earth and then sort of manifesting light there. I kind of take a different view of that. I see the sun as a producer of energy, like an EMF, generator. Uh-huh. But the light itself is manifested when that electromagnetic energy encounters the various gases, the noble gases in the air above us. And if Iru can join us, he's going to be here fairly soon. He's from Argentina. He's also uses the same modeling software that I use, Cinema 4D, and he's done some work in that I've just seen recently. And he has a good handle on recreating sort of the composition of the atmosphere. And I haven't looked into it enough to be able to explain it, but he should be here fairly soon and can explain that. So that's kind of where we were at when I met Mike, a few months ago, I think. And we have now been trying various methods of trying to figure out how to visualize these magnetic field lines that might be responsible for positioning what we see as the sun, which sometimes we see as low, sometimes we see as high. It doesn't seem to make a predictable pattern as it goes over us. It's fairly predictable, but its distances seem to change, and there's other things that seem to be going on that we think can be explained by a magnetic system. And that's kind of where we are now. And like I said before, I'm also I'm getting a lot of tips from my viewers of things that they want to see in these comparison videos that I've been doing lately. And we're kind of looking for certain things that look different on each system. Because one thing that we found out when we started this was many things look similar on globe Earth and flat Earth. For example, things like northern midnight suns. Once you install this refraction layer, this firmament, the midnight sun, from the globe Earth perspective or flat Earth perspective, is basically identical. I mean, it's very close. But things become more different when you get off the surface. The higher off the surface you get, both models start to separate. And we're looking for other things like that, things like looking at boats out of distances, like a video I just released yesterday or today. We've got some other examples. For example, I got a viewer today that mentioned something I never considered. I think that most flat earthers that have been researching this know that when you look out on the horizon from ground level or even a little higher up, you see a flat horizon. There's never going to be a horizontal curvature. A lot of people talk about that, but I think it's just a poor understanding of geometry, because you never would see a curved horizontal structure. It's not like you're going to see buildings tilting to the right and tilting to the left. But that's not really the end of that, because when this person contacted me, he mentioned something that was very interesting, and I'm going to be modeling that in the next couple of weeks, is a very long bridge looked at perpendicular from the bridge. Something like that bridge in China, I think that goes like 30 or something kilometers. Because the reason we see things flat when we look out on either model at just like, say, an ocean from an island, it's because the distance from our vision, the horizon from our standpoint, is the same distance. So, of course, the height would be the same if the distance is the same, and that's going to give you a flat line. But a straight bridge is not going to have that same effect, I don't believe, because the bridge on a globe model obviously would have to physically curve. At 30 kilometers, right. It's not going to be straight. Even at 6 kilometers, it's not going to be straight. I mean, So I'm expecting that to look different in both models. And I think those are the types of things that I've been interested in lately, to try to find something that's very different between each model and then test that against reality. So that's a little bit, and also helping Mike to try to model what he's working on.
Let me ask you both this really quick. What are your backgrounds as far as what you do, and is that part of what you are applying to these particular models that you're in the comparison review of them?
You want to start first, Mike?
Either Mike.
Yeah, I'll start first. My background is I'm an engineer, a mechanical engineer. I've been self-employed for ever since I dropped. I got my degree. I was going to say dropped out of school, but I didn't drop out of school. And I've been a semi-professional astrophotographer and optics manufacturer for a greater deal of my past. Together with my father. My father was a professional astronomer who was responsible for making his own optics for the European market. Nice. So I did a lot of stargazing in my past, and when I first encountered flat Earth, I was pretty shocked. I just thought it was ridiculous, and I spent a greater deal of a year being a vicious flat Earth debunker. With my astrophotography material and telescopes. I was always out to get those silly flat earthers.
Right.
And then, after...
I didn't know Mike back in those days. I never ran
No. It's better you didn't know me then, Steve, because I was pretty gnarly.
I can imagine.
I was also an atheist back then, and a true believer in what Rob Skiba calls monkey man science. I believed I fell out of a monkey's behind, so to speak. That all changed the minute I took my telescope to the beach one night, and I wanted to take a picture of the Orion Nebula. And in a spur of the moment, I decided to point my telescope not up, but straight across the lake where I live.
Uh-huh.
And it was at night, so I wasn't expecting to see anything, but I did. I saw windmills, and that were, I think, about 33 kilometers away, and I didn't see the windmills themselves because it was dark, of course, but I saw the strobe lights from the windmills, and I got curious at that moment, so I got my phone out of my pocket and I started checking the distance, and then I went to a curve calculator, and then it hit me. I really got a strange feeling in my stomach, so to speak, and my legs got all rubbery. I fell to my knees, and I thought, oh my God.
Hold on, guys. We'll pick it up on the other side. Be right back, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody. I did want to go ahead and turn this over to Steve and give you a chance to answer before we move forward. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you would talk about your background and everything.
Sure. Well, back in I would say I got started in computers probably in the mid-'80s doing various types of design work. And at the same time, I was getting my BFA in jazz composition in Florida. So, I'm a musician, play several instruments, and worked in the music field for quite a number of years. And this, I guess, getting into flat Earth started a few years ago. I've always been interested in sort of the inner workings of the world, I guess. You know, I've ever since I could find information on the internet. Of course, as we all know, you know, a majority of it is just distracting information or disinformation. But anyway, it's something that kind of hones your skills in determining what's truth and what's probably not truth. And I did a lot of that. So, you know, once flat Earth kind of jumped into my lap, I think my first reaction was I was open-minded about it because I had bumped into so many odd things and went down so many so-called rabbit holes that I didn't have any sort of doors up reaction or, you know, negative reaction to new information that came. I would look at it and I would keep looking at it until I either was tired of looking at it or it seemed ridiculous or had no backup information or proof or anything like that. And flat Earth at that point, I say it was about 3 years ago, so it was this sort of latest movement of it, I guess, started around that time with what is it, Matt Powerland and Eric Dubay and probably some others I don't know about. And I just started going through the videos, and as questions came into my head, I would, you know, things like, well, what about satellites? Or what about this? What about that?
Right.
I would look into what the explanations were and see if they made sense to me or if they didn't. And of course, there were usually various explanations for various phenomena and explaining what we see and what we should see. So I started talking to a friend that has a very interesting website on YouTube, and I think you can just find it on the internet. It's called thevedicway.com, and I would say that I wasn't really a highly religious person at that time. I believed in a supreme power, not all my life, but for, I would say, the past 20 years. But no particular religion. I wasn't really a person that was into any particular religion. I had studied many religions, but none of them really kept my attention long enough to say stick with them. And the Vedic way, of course, if you understand that, it's, you know, the study of the Vedas and the ancient religion of the Hindus and the Hare Krishnas and the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and these books. And I had run across this site for other reasons because he gives information on he gives information about music, about farming, and I'm also a farmer now, sort of retired, and in my other field, and we're we're sort of working on self-sustainability. So we've got a very large land, and a family lives here, and we're farming and doing that sort of thing. But anyway, he in conversations with him, and one day he asked me if I had read the Bhagavad Gita, and I said no, but I've heard about it many times. But like many books I've heard about it, I don't pick them all up and read them. But I got reading it, and it was one of the type of books that I couldn't put down. And then it went to other books, and they have some very interesting, detailed descriptions of the universe from beginning to end. And like the Book of Enoch, there seemed to be some, I don't know if they're translation issues or just issues of the book being passed down verbally for so many, decades that, information may have got skewed, may have got exaggerated. But the model, it basically works if you model it according to their figures. Not that I've done it, but this person that I'm talking about has actually done it using the same program I do. And it works out very well, but I can't really talk too much about that because I haven't modeled it myself. It's something I want to do in the future, but I haven't done it yet. But anyway, what started me in modeling it was sort of a challenge from him because I was trying to convince him that the Earth was flat. He was fairly interested because the Vedas do describe a flat Earth. I mean, they never use the word sphere. They never say that the Earth is a ball, that your home is a ball. They never talk about that, even for the heavenly objects. They never talk about a sphere. And now that I understand flat Earth the way I do, when I read these books, and I've never read them with an understanding of global Earth, but reading them with an understanding of flat Earth, it makes complete sense. I mean, in fact, you can't make sense out of a lot of the things that they describe from a globe Earth's perspective. So he was interested because he had felt that also, and they still do hold a flat Earth cosmology, even today, and they're building a big structure in Mayapur, India, that is a planetarium that is built as a flat Earth system. And there's some really interesting videos about that if you haven't seen them. So he challenged me, and I've never used any sort of program like that. I'm not afraid of programs. I'm not afraid of even doing some programming, but it was a pretty intense program that he was trying to get me to use because he was familiar with it. He says, if you want me to believe this, model these things that you're describing in your head, things that you hear about on videos like the sun sets because of perspective and this, that, and the other, because he wasn't buying it. And so I took up the challenge. He spent about an intensive week with me to try to get me up the steep learning curve of being able to just get around in the program so that it wasn't so difficult. And I thank him for that. And then that was about a year and a few months ago. It was about February 2016 when you see my first few videos on the channel. And that's what I did, to the point that he does believe that the Earth is flat. Maybe he doesn't believe all aspects of it, but he likes the visualizations that I have, the model that I have. He's seen most of my videos, and that's kind of how it got me involved. And once I was able to figure out how to use NASA's own data, because I had to believe their data until their data could be proven as false. And for their data to be proven as false, you have to believe that all modern telescopes and any sort of pointer devices, any sort of phone apps that tell you what star is what, for those things to work, you have to believe that the database works, because they all use basically the same database. Programs like Stellarium, they all use the same data. And if they say to look at a certain elevation and a certain azimuth, then that's where it's going to be, And other than a little bit of shifting because of their model of refraction, that's where it is. So until somebody can show me that the moon has jumped into a new location or done something that nobody's ever seen it do, I'm going to use that data. And my idea was to just flatten the data, because whether you put the ground or the observer on a sphere and spin the sphere, or you take that sphere and you break it at the South Pole and open it up like a flat disk, it's the same coordinate system. I mean, 0, 0 is 0, 0 off of West Africa, and 90 degrees north is 90 degrees north. I mean, the longitude and latitudes doesn't matter how you project them. They have the coordinate system doesn't alter itself other than just being stretched and adapted to that new shape. So that's what I did with their numbers. I downloaded their numbers for like 113 years. I don't remember, it's 112 years, because they have a maximum data on a few objects, so I had to limit it to that. And I went about transforming it, and then I went about importing it into the animation program, and then animating it so that you could see what the system possibly looked like from outside. And then, like I said earlier, I wanted to give proper ground views, and that key came around October of last year when I figured out how to create the firmament, which I see the firmament is something like Mike said also, is that it's sort of a lens that's above the whole Earth, and it gives some certain properties. It makes, for example, it takes the distortion out of objects. For example, if you didn't have this sort of lens and you saw something like the moon or the sun rising or coming at you, first you would see it for 24 hours, and also you would see it very small when it was on the opposite side of the North Pole from you. And depending on if it was spherical or flat, but if it was spherical, it's not going to always look spherical to you, in that sense. So this lens gives everybody an objective view of the sky, a sort of equal view of the sky, no matter where you're at on the surface. I mean, you get different effects, like you'll get a midnight sun, or if you get too far north, like above 70. But other than that, everybody sees the moon rise and pass over and set basically the same, other than orientation or whatever. It doesn't distort or warp or go oblong or anything like that. So just like you would expect something that was created by God, it works perfect, and I think that we can come pretty far in reproducing that perfection, but I think we'll never obviously get to the level that we see it visually.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing system, and we're all trying to figure out the details of it. And as far as the Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm very aware of all that information. The book that I'm currently working on, which I'm close to being done, it's called Paradise, the Sides of the North and the Mount of the Congregation. And in it, I do it like you're doing a comparative study of both the globe and the flat Earth as model. I parallel both the accounts from the Book of Enoch, the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries, with the data set that is contained in Canto 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because they're both describing the same thing, just from different angle and different perspective. And so it's very interesting to look at and examine all of that. In my opinion, they're both confirming witness for one another with regard to the dynamics of what we see being described in both texts. But Cathy, I want to give you a chance to comment here, and then we're going to excuse me, then we'll go into your journeys of discovery for both of you.
Well, I'm just really I'm in awe with these guests, and it's something that we don't see enough of in the community, but when we do, I really hope to see more of you out in sharing. I'd heard Steve, and was it just you, Steve? Maybe no, it wasn't with Mike. With Rob Skiba, and I think that was a year ago. And I don't think I've caught much, since then. But I think there's such a lack of the real scientific inquiry. But yet there is so much experimentation, and it's something that I've learned so much since this has started, and the same is happening. And I think that's why we spend sleepless nights, and we're just, in a sense, addicted, but in a good way, because you're trying to figure out these questions. How were we lied to for so long? And then the wonder and the awe about seeing our real world as it is, that, there's been this fantasy that we've been given for so long. So your channel, Steve, is amazing. All the things that you've investigated, the analemmas that you've modeled, the eclipses, and we've got a solar eclipse coming up. A lot of people are really interested in that. And I even read an article just earlier talking about that, that tale, I don't even know if it's true anymore, about how people's will be injured, their eyes will be injured if they look directly at the sun. Is that even true? I mean, they made it sound like, you're stake through the heart. You don't look at the thing. It's just really craziness.
I don't know if I would think that's on a solar eclipse. I don't know. I did a lot of actually sun gazing. I don't know if you've heard that before.
No, I have, and that's a really positive thing. And I'm wondering, what is it that they don't want us to see if we actually look at it? So, I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we can see it very well with optics, so we don't have to necessarily look at it directly.
That's true too.
I don't know what they would be wanting us to not see. I think it might just reinforce their doctrine that the sun is this plasma ball. So therefore, obviously, you can't look directly at it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this, but I've looked directly at the sun at 12 noon. I mean, when I was doing sun gazing in the morning hours and the evening hours, I would do it for like 20, 30 minutes at a time, which is perfectly safe to do in that first hour. But I also noticed that when I would like drive around during the time where the sun was at the altitude where, it would hit you right in the eye, and most people would grab their visor or their sunglasses, before they would have an accident. And I would just keep on going. I wouldn't lower my visor. I wouldn't do anything. I could look directly at the sun, especially at those hours. And I would see the sun differently. You don't see the glare. When you first start doing sun gazing, you really see the glare of the sun. And I guess it's because of your eyes not adapted to that light or that strength of the light. But after you do that for some weeks, or I don't know how long it takes before that starts changing, but you find that you can look at the sun and you see the disk, more like what you see when you use a solar filter. Not quite as dim as that, but you don't see the glare around it. You see the actual disk with your naked eye. So that's all I'll say about that. But.
Well, I think the sun is one of the most beautiful things in creation, and whenever I think of something that is angelic or holy or divine, the warmth of its light and the brightness of its coming, all of that, and even Second Enoch describes it being lit by the light of 100 angels, and so right. I like staring at it as well. But let's go ahead and go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, really, who knows what it looks like? Because we're not really seeing the sun. We're just seeing the sun's interaction with this lens that's above us. We're very far from the sun, and the actual sun, if you read like what you're talking about, or the fifth canto, it's quite different, than what we see. It doesn't represent anything that we know as the sun.
Yeah, well, whatever we're seeing, it's quite beautiful. But let's go into just kind of, your journey of awakening to this particular issue, what led you into discovery of it, and also, like 9/11 or anything of that nature, what was the first thing that kind of triggered your interest in conspiratorial alternative truth? And let's begin with you, Mike, and then we'll go back to Steve.
Well, I was sitting at my attic behind my computer at night in 2012, I think it was, and I started to look for just regular videos on YouTube, and I bumped into a video about 9/11. And when I saw that, I was immediately hooked on conspiratorial videos. So I think I watched about every video there is about conspiracy on YouTube. Not that I believed all of them, but I was just interested in the information. And then eventually Flat Earth comes on your path, of course, because they will somehow pop up in your recommended feed. So, And well, that's how I first think. Now, it's not the first time I heard of it, because there's a friend of mine here in the Netherlands who was also looking into it, and I unfriended him from Facebook, and I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. That has all changed now, by the way, because we're now back friends again. So. But I started to tell the story before the break too. I started to point my telescope at the horizon, and then it dawned to me that what I was seeing was not possible on a ball.
Right.
And then I felt very how do you say that, guilty, because I've been such a vicious hardcore flat earth debunker for the past year, so all those people I've insulted and all those people I shouted at, I really felt guilty and stupid, for the first time in my life. I really felt like a dumbass. So I went home that night with my telescope under my arm, and I couldn't sleep that night, and I started to bump into Rob Skiba's videos, and then that got the ball rolling for me, because I saw his podcast with Josh Peck on the Sharpening Report when he did the live expose of the NASA picture on the moon. And that got me so mad, I wanted to throw a rock at my TV, not because Rob was telling me that information, but because he was right,
Right. Yeah, the rectangle box around the Earth.
I felt deceived, and misled by the authority that I held as a god, so to speak, NASA. Because I grew up as an astronomer, so. NASA was very prevalent in our lives. Yeah,
that was your religion, really.
Yeah, definitely, and that really got me mad and angry, real angry for a week or so. And but that when I finally calmed down, I started to question the mechanics of it. If the spherical Earth is not true and the flat Earth is, then how does this system work? And that got me on the path of Steve's channel, because I saw his video he did with Zach about refraction, and I was really piqued my interest, and I was already having all sorts of ideas in my head what I would like to model, but I had no experience with the 3D software, so I contacted Steve on his YouTube channel, and I think that was. In winter of 2016, in the beginning of the year, and then we started doing some tests with drift patterns of the sun to model that, because we thought we could discover something with that. And what I found out is that many systems that we think don't work on a globe system actually do work on a globe system. The globe is very perfect in its way of manufacturing the paths of the objects of the luminaries. It's hard to poke holes in that.
Well, that's why it's deceived us all for so very long. Because Satan most certainly knew what he was doing when he came up with this counterfeit model to explain or try to explain what we see, and because of that, we've never even contended or doubted or questioned the relevancy of all that we've been indoctrinated into with regard to the Copernican system.
Well, you can't actually blame everybody for believing it, because if you take astronomers, for instance, like us. When we point our telescope at specific objects that take a specific path on the globe model, we will confirm that result. by a miniature second of the arc degrees, it's perfect. The plus or minus a little bit for refraction, but it fits perfectly. So you can't blame everybody for believing the globe. The only thing that's not present on the globe is its curve. And
Right.
that's the only thing that's missing. You can get every argument to fit astronomically for the globe model. It will fit perfectly, but the globe misses the curve. And without the curve, there is no globe. So
Right.
that's the
And
end
then
of the discussion.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the velocity to the supposed orbital rotation of the Earth, because the Earth is not moving. So those two things were what convinced me. And like you, I was completely would not examine it for the longest time. My listeners kept bombarding me with stuff, and I was very unwilling and very hesitant to even begin to examine like you. But Steve, can you tell us about your journey in awakening, and also did it start with 9/11 for you? How was it that you got into the theme of conspiracy and alternative truth and all that?
It's been a while, so I don't really remember the exact sequence of events in the beginning, but I would say my interest in this type of information was focused a lot on financial.
Hold on, brother. We're already at break. We'll pick it up on the other side, and we'll begin with you. We'll be right back for second hour, everyone.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for second hour. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. I have as co-host with me this evening, Cathy Dunson, and we have multiple guests from all over the world. Definitely going to let them tell you where they are coming to you from. But Steve, we're going to go back to you, give you a chance to, tell the rest of your story. And also, you're coming from Brazil, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm living in Brazil now. I was born in America, but I've been living here for since about 2002. And I think before the break, you had asked what got me involved or into conspiracy theories or this type of alternative information. And my focus in most of the time was around the financial aspects of it, Federal Reserve type of stuff, and corporate states and corporate governments, and that whole thing, East India Company, and the whole history. And of course, that's something that goes deeper and deeper and deeper the further you go, and goes back to things like the Jesuits and Switzerland, and that's a whole other story. But during looking into this stuff somehow or another, and I don't even remember how, it might have just been looking through YouTube one day and seeing something about flat Earth. And honestly, I'd never really, I think if flat Earth had come into my view prior to, say, 3 years ago, when there was really not much videos about it on YouTube, or not much good information about it that I knew of, at least. If it did come into my view, I ignored it, probably.
Right.
It probably was something that sort of, was like a blip on the screen, that, oh, come on, flat Earth, that's like ridiculous,
Right.
It didn't even get my attention, But this time it did, because, I probably saw one of the first videos, either by Eric Dubé or whoever what it was back then. There was more than just him out there at that point, I believe, but it was still pretty young. And it was enough there that you could just go from one to the other. And there was a lot of intriguing questions and a lot of doubts brought up. And I'm not an astronomer like Mike, but I have a telescope. I understand astronomy, at least basically. And it sort of kept my attention since that time, and until today. It's probably one of the subjects that I research the most. I don't watch too many of the videos that come out lately, just because there's just so many of them.
Right.
And sometimes you click on them and they're like 4 hours long or something like that. And I just don't have that amount of time to look. And really most of the questions that have come in come into my mind over these years, have been answered, satisfactorily to me at least, and if there are some lingering questions, it's usually things that we're working on. We have a small group of, I don't know, it grows a little bit, every week or so, but we probably have about 8 or 10 researchers that have different sets of skills that are tackling this flat Earth, movement or whatever you want to call it. And we get together privately with, private chats. We have a group that's just, we talk about every day, not everybody, but, a subset of that group, we bounce around ideas. We work on videos. We're getting ready to do a video together on, basically that zone that is right where the surface of the water is, or even the surface of the land, and the air above it. There's a layer of, I don't know, I really couldn't find anything to define it, so we came up with a term. But it's a special sort of layer that's just above the water, where you get a lot of interesting effects with refraction, and it basically obscures what we see, and also causes the effect of things seeming to disappear from the bottom, as the bottom is sort of getting crunched up, sort of like a accordion, where you're squishing up one end more than the other. And because the objects closer to the surface are having that effect on them more than objects higher off the surface, that squishing effect, is concentrated the closer you get to the surface. So it sort of eats up the object, like the sun or the moon or a boat or whatever it may be. And so we're doing a video with that with a few people, and that'll be coming out probably in a couple weeks. And what else? I think that's about it. I mean, that's as far as those types of things. I'm still involved in the financial aspect of the world and what's going on, and I do spend a lot of time in that, but I probably spend more time doing these models and trying to do these comparisons and working with other researchers to try to help them and visualize them, because a lot of people have some great ideas, but they don't have the time or the software or the skills or the head to really model these. Plus I have the globe model already created, and I have a fairly working flat Earth model, so it's both of them are at the level of doing some basic comparison testing. And I think that as we put these videos out, if they're comparing different situations on both flat and curved, I think that a lot of doubts will be answered as far as what we see and what we would see. For example, on the video I just did about a boat going out to sea for 20 miles. I don't know if you saw that. I did it. I put it out this morning or last night.
I did.
One thing that I noticed, and I'm still working on this because I'm not convinced that the result that I got on the sphere model with the water is not due to something else that I don't understand. Because when I do these comparisons, I make the models identical in every aspect that I can. For example, if I'm using a water effect or a water plug-in or whatever it may be, I do them identical on each surface, so that what's different is really different. And in the case of the water on the sphere, I got this really odd look that if you saw it, you'll know what I mean. It just looks bad. I mean, it looks like nothing you've ever seen before. You get a bunch of, I don't know, it's really even hard to describe. You just have to see it. But it doesn't look anything like what we see, whereas the sun reflecting off of the flat water looks basically like what we see. Of course, not as good as reality, but you get the same sort of effects. So that's pretty much it.
All right, excellent.
We also are doing some tests, like the Lake Balaton test. We're planning on doing one over ice around this December. We also have another test out of the country that I can't say a lot about at this point, but once we can, we'll announce that too. And that's another long-distance laser test that will use a laser that Sander had built that has the ability to go about 100 kilometers. No, we haven't tested that distance yet. But we do have the Lake Balaton test, which will go to 77 kilometers, so that'll test it out.
Very cool. That is very cool. One more question to you, Steve, since you're in Brazil. Did you hear anything about that? We got some feedback. But anyways, that satellite crashing in Brazil. Any word on that and how it was tied to a weather balloon? You got any comment on that?
I saw it. I didn't look a lot into it, but I did see the article on it. I mean, it looked real to me, but really I didn't try to see if it was any sort of fake news or anything. But my initial reaction to it and looking at the video that I saw about it, it looked authentic to me. I don't know if anybody did any more work on it, but, what do you think?
I thought it was quite intriguing.
I mean, I believe they do have these balloon satellites. I mean, we've seen enough videos of being launched.
Right. And it would make sense to me that that's how they would do it and how they could actually make it happen. It certainly seemed authentic to me, but, again, and nobody knows for sure. I guess we'll kind of wait and see the follow-up to all that and what kind of other stuff comes forth with regard to that particular event. But I did find it intriguing. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of even them having the military has a special flight crew that is supposed to go out, and when these things are either starting to fail or when they need to bring them back for a data collection, that they have they basically detonate the main parachute, and then they have a droop chute, I think they call it, that opens up and allows a sort of a slow fall, and then they fly a plane up that has a big hook out the back of it, and they capture these things and they pull them in and land them and sort of a secret Air Force crew, and that makes sense to me. I mean, it sounds reasonable. I mean, they do need to do things like data collection. They do need to fake things like weather satellites. Maybe even high altitude pictures. I'm sure there are many uses for these things, even possibly faking satellites so that data is being transmitted down to researchers. Really seems like it's being transmitted from space. I'm not really sure. But there are definitely some good videos that show huge balloon sats going up, and we don't. Yeah. I don't know if we ever hear anything about that. I mean, it's not. I don't ever remember seeing that in the news. Huge 2-ton object goes up by balloon. I've never seen that in the mainstream news.
No, they want us to believe in that whole model of they put it in orbit and then it's just constantly falling around the globe of the Earth, and that's what keeps it in place. But
anything they can do to support their whole thing, which goes back to evolution, and
exactly.
That's the other thing that intrigued me too. I mean, after a short time of looking into flat Earth and seeing all the repercussions about it, I thought, why? Like the question a lot of people asked in the beginning, why? Why would they do this? Why would they go to such a massive effort to fake people about the shape of the Earth? And of course, anybody that's been researching this for any amount of time knows all those answers. I mean, and to me, it goes all the way back to hiding God. They're hiding the Creator
and separating us
and of what they're trying to hide, and any supporting story that they can put out there that supports their model, like anything from ETs to satellites, they're going to just spin those things out left and right, even if they don't have to support them. I mean, ETs they can deny all day. For the people that believe in ETs, it just makes them believe it more.
Right. Yeah, and I do believe that's the next phase of it. But I do want to. We have a new participant on the call. Iru, is it Iru? Are you there, brother, sister, or?
Hi.
I see it.
Can you listen?
Yeah.
There
you go.
Hello. How are you doing?
Doing well. Where are you calling from? And if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and your connections with Steve and Mike and.
Yeah, of course. I'm from Argentina. I am a flat earth researcher. Sorry for my English. I have a little troubles to speak fluid English language. I am a visual effects director. I have a studio here in Argentina. About 20 years from now of experience. So I enter in this flat earth community because I'm starting to see all the creepy effects that NASA uses on the ISS, Apollo missions, the CGI, all that kind of stuff. Here in Argentina, of course, all the things that come from NASA are, like post-production and just, like Discovery Channel, History Channel, National Geographic, those kind of channel. All the time they deliver, prepackaged product to the people. So in that kind of situation, you never see the mistakes of NASA are doing right now in the present day. So when I'm started to see this online, the community post a lot of information about the huge error that NASA has to try to fake gravity or try to fake the space. I make those kind of effects. So when I see that for the first time, I can't believe it. NASA has that, so bad CGI operators behind the desk. So that was my first contact with the flat Earth, and then I start research, history. I start research rituals, symbology, because this is a huge topic. You can address flat Earth just for the math, or just for the optics, or just for the history. It's very complex because you need to see all together to understand deeply, no? I mean, deeply understand this problematic. And I have listened the few minutes you are talking, and I agree. I mean, they try to hide, the importance of humankind in this plane.
Yes.
I have some troubles maybe to put the right words because I don't share the same language, but
you're doing fine.
Okay, but this is the principal goal for me. And then, economics, social control, all that kind of stuff goes hand by hand with the first goal of, reduce the importance of the humans here in this plane. So I started with this kind of tornado information. And right now here in Argentina, there is a lot of community in Latin America in general, not just Argentina. But my channel here is like the principal channel to get information. So I started to contact Dr. Zach a few months ago. And after that, we shared some research, some simulations, doing in C4D and other kind of software. And then recently I had the pleasure to meet Steve. So I also follow his channel. So this, for me, this kind of contact, are beginning, is the beginning of this kind of interchange the information.
I want to ask each of you guys, especially since you're in different parts of the world, is it now becoming a topic of interest in your country? And do you see a lot of people waking up to this? Are people beginning to question the cosmology, and also are they looking to the scriptures for answers because, all that is encoded there and has been for thousands of years? And Iru, we'll get you to answer first, and then we'll go to Mike, and then back to Steve.
Yes. It's here in Argentina, I have the opportunity to be in 3 TV shows, from mass media. In fact, I have contact by 3 journalists and 2 actors of really important people here in Argentina. And
awesome.
Yeah, that was very awesome. I have uploaded on my channel. In fact, one of the actors works on Hollywood too. So I have the pleasure to meet him, person by person, face to face. So there are really people that when they wake up, they put all the shit on the trash and start fresh over, because they are part of the system like anyone else. So when you start to see how they manipulate the information, the education, the information and that kind of stuff, if you have some good conscience, you immediately going to try to share this information. So here in Argentina and the rest of Latin America was a really big start on this topic, and the people received very well because there are so many proof out there that if you have 5 minutes to open your mind, at least you're going to start to have a lot of doubt about the heliocentric, and then you're going to see that the heliocentric model is a religion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree with you. Mike, what are you seeing there where you are in the Netherlands?
Well, the Netherlands is a very open-minded country, but on the topic of flat Earth, not so much. But I do have had the pleasure also, like Iru, to be on 2 TV shows. One was a pilot for mainstream media. That still has to be released, so I cannot share that footage yet. I do have some short clips of it, and just last week I've been on a local TV station in Amsterdam talking about flat Earth, specifically flat Earth.
Wonderful.
So, and I just got the viewing rates, and it was viewed by 11,000 people. So
sweet. You guys are helping the word to spread there in your countries. Yeah,
definitely. And it's hard to, especially for me, because I'm a business owner, to speak publicly about this, because I do have an income to protect.
Yes.
But I don't care about all that anymore. I just want to share what I found so far, and I think that's my job to do. Keeping this information for yourself is not something you should do.
Right.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the resistance as tough there for you as it is for us here with NASA and the society?
We've got all sorts of propaganda started here also, because we have also a Dutch astronaut here, who has been on the ISS, at least that's what he says, of course, and he is now going around schools, young kids, teaching them about space, and they got a sort of sticker card action with the local supermarket, not the local, but the biggest supermarket store here in the Netherlands, where you can collect space cards. So the propaganda is also here increasing. So they're coming at us from every angle, and we are just fighting against that. And we meet with the same resistance as most people do. As soon as you expose someone to flat Earth for the first time, you get laughed at, and they think you are crazy, and they know it's a ball, and they actually don't know anything, but. Right. as Iru said, it's a religion. They believe everything, and they've never confirmed anything for themselves. Anything, right. Because if you have ever done that, you will find out that the exact opposite is true.
Well, you guys are really lucky too, because your ambassador was given one of those special moon rocks, and so you guys are lucky to have that petrified wood, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. How about you, Steve, there in Brazil? And also, I guess I should announce one of my friends that lives there in Brazil is translating my books into Portuguese, and they will be available in the kind of Lulu there in Brazil in a very short time. But what do you see happening down there, and is there a lot of interest, a lot of awakening going on? How is it?
Well, the Brazilians that I know ever since. I mean, I was familiar with Brazil much longer before I actually moved here. I was coming here many times before that, but moved here in 2002. But the Brazilians are very, the majority of them, at least the ones that I run into contact with, are very open-minded. At least they appear to be. What they do with the information after that, I don't really know. We live in a very remote location, so, we don't really even have any neighbors around us. My closest neighbor is a couple of kilometers from me, and I just have a few of them. So, and we like it that way. So we're not going out into the city unless it's absolutely necessary, which means a lot of procrastination goes on.
Right.
And my wife's the same, and my son and daughter-in-law live here, and we have two little ones too, and we just don't leave. I mean, me and my wife leave the most because we have to go down to get stuff and everything. But so we don't interact a lot with the local population, and online until Zach contacted me, I didn't really interact a whole lot online either. In the Facebook, like there's tons of Facebook groups now on Flat Earth. I mean, when my videos come out, if I have the time, I try to post them around those sites. But honestly, I never really participate very much in them. If somebody comments on something I post, I try to comment back if I notice it, and they've made that work better lately, so you don't miss so many. But and as far as the family goes, I have a medium-sized family.
Hold on, Steve. We'll be right back for final segment, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody, for a final segment. I do want to give each of you a chance to give out your website and contact information again, and where people can go to find your work. Iru, let's start with you, since you haven't had a chance to do so yet, and then we'll go to Mike and back to Steve, and then we'll pick up where we left off.
Okay, thanks. First of all, thanks for the invitation. I was a little late because here in Argentina, today is the day of the friendship based on the moon landing, on the fake moon landing. They put that in the social, community to remember we are on the moon. So let's celebrate the day of the friendship. They are terrible. My YouTube channel, it's in Spanish, of course, but you can find it, type in NUR, N-U-R, for everyone, but in Spanish. It's called NUR para todos. I hope you can understand, but if you put Iru Landucci, you're gonna get there also. So you can find me on Facebook, but with the same name, or in YouTube.
Okay, excellent. Mike?
Yes?
If you would, give out your website, contact information, anything that you want to share once more, and then we'll go back to Steve.
Okay, my contact information, I have a Facebook, that's Mike House of Cavanaugh. My YouTube channel is FE Astronomy, all caps. But most of my work most of our work is shared on Steve and Zach's channel.
Okay, great. Steve?
Yeah, really all I have is my YouTube account, which is you just go to YouTube and search for Steve Torrence Flat Earth, or even just Steve Flat Earth. But if you put my last name in, Torrence, it'll be the first one that comes up. And I also have Facebook, where I usually post the videos also. And that's all I have.
Okay, excellent. Well, back to the whole thing. Did you get a chance to finish up with just, what's going on there, the awakening? I know you don't have a whole lot of interaction, but any part of any groups there? I mean, do they have any Flat Earth gatherings? I know that's happening a lot of different places now.
I don't know. Physical gatherings are really disconnected from that.
Yeah.
I know there are Flat Earth groups like on Facebook. I've seen them, too, when I've looked around. The only interaction that I really have here would be family and close friends that, visit us fairly often. And of course it comes up in conversation. And we have a history, with our family. Me and my wife have a history of not being thought of as crazy, but we've went down some we went down some I don't know what you would call them, rabbit holes. I guess also one of the first things that I questioned many years ago, around 1999, was food, and I'd read reports of yogis and even young people like he goes by a name of Buddha Boy. That's not his actual name, but there are people that have been known to go really long times without food. So after reading about it, I decided to give it a try. And so did my wife. And honestly, we did it for like 3 years. And we were even on TV here in Brazil to like 3 million people. So it got around, and we traveled around Europe and talked about it. So our family, knows our history. And when we talk about something like Flat Earth, it's not like they're, they get big eyes and their jaw drops. They doesn't really, they know us. So and many of them have been receptive to it, and not just receptive to it, but actually believe it. I mean, when I talk about it with the knowledge that I have about the modeling it, and like I've done in my videos, I can answer a lot of their questions pretty much off the cuff. So they get a pretty convincing argument for Flat Earth. And it really leaves them thinking. And I think that if, they look into it afterwards, which I think a lot of them do, they really start to get it, like anybody does that researches that. I mean, we don't know what the shape of the Earth is. I mean, a lot of people, say to Flat Earthers, show us a picture of the pizza, or something like that. And, we don't know. But I think one thing that we can kind of say we do know, and of course more testing should be done, is that it's flat. I mean, we know water is flat. Right. We can't find any evidence of water curving at all. And we've even tested it. I've tested it up to 6 kilometers. So I know it's flat. If it's flat for 6 kilometers, it's flat for 60 kilometers. Right. It doesn't have flat spots and curved spots. It makes no sense. So we know it's flat. And then we have, we have stories that come from like the Book of Enoch that gives some description. We have the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that gives a very detailed description of concentric rings. And I like that idea. I really, I'm really a big follower of both of those books and many other books in the same line. And, so I take what they say about everything from beginning to end literally. But I do have question about the measurements that they give, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They have this called the Yojana, which we don't have a real accurate historical connection to any measurement system that we know of today. There's no sort of Rosetta Stone for that. But even if you just say one Yojana is 1 mile, their distances do seem too big.
Extravagant. Yeah,
size,
absolutely.
Really extravagant. And I don't have a problem with saying that was a sort of fault of the book traveling down through 5,000 years or more. I mean, you can even read one of the best translations there is the As It Is by Prabhupada. And even that, you can see how, even though he talked very bad against NASA, he totally said that they will never be able to go to the moon. He was saying this in 1965, when he arrived in America. So he was very disbelieving of NASA, but at the same time, he didn't realize it was worldwide and that people, the whole, spacefaring nations are the ones getting into space, were lying about the shape of the Earth.
Right.
So he would do translations that would, say like planet Earth or this planet, definitely that it was spherical. He never really brought out that it was flat. So you can see how NASA and science in general even infected somebody like that, which, if you know who I'm talking about, was a firm believer of believing the information that came from your guru. His guru and his guru, all the way back to the creator, all the way to Krishna. So, you can see how his commentary, which is excellent in all respects, really excellent, got infected by this sort of dream or this false reality that science in general, or at least mainstream science, Western science, has thrown over the world. It's spread further than West. It started out in the West, but it's infected even India. And many other countries, that have a good, strong history for a model that mentions nothing about a sphere.
Right.
If your world was a spherical, wouldn't that be one of the first things that you would bring out when you sent your saint or you pass the information down to a prophet? That would be the thing that would be like, oh, really? Because when you just look around, it's flat. I have two twin 3-month-olds that were just born here, my grandsons that were just born here. And I'm thinking to myself, they're going to be homeschooled and everything. And everybody here believes in flat earth, They're going to reach an age where I will be able to ask them the question, can you draw or describe what you think the world looks like, before they're able to get any information from anywhere about it? Just their pure reaction of look around. You can do all the observations you want. You can even ask some questions, but we want you to come to a conclusion. Just draw. It's just, what do you think? There's no right or wrong answer. It's not anything like that. But what do you think?
Using your senses.
Yeah. How big is it? What shape is it? Like, what are they going to draw? You think they're going to draw a ball? I don't think so.
No way. Not at all.
Oh, they're going to look out and everything, and they're going to draw something flat, square, circle, bumpy. Yeah. I don't know, but it'll be a test that will be a kind of a rare test, because it's hard to have children that are in their situation where everybody else believes in the flat earth. It's in this moment of time where this is all coming out, and they're also isolated from most people, especially in the young ages. They're not going to be having flat, shape of the earth conversations with their cousins or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, I think, our senses tell us that it is flat. And if we trust what we see and what we observe.
And that it's not moving.
Right, and that it's not moving, exactly. But with regard to the Srimad Bhagavatam, just like the Book of Enoch, and the reason that it has the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries has been misunderstood and the knowledge lost for the last 500 years since the world has embraced Copernican heliocentrism, is because we're trying to filter all of these ancient texts through that bias. And the people that are doing that with and the same thing with those that are trying to explain, just like we say with the Johannas and all these extravagant distances being connected to that as a measure of distance. They're trying to apply that to all that we've been taught by NASA. And so it's a shame that we have lost, whatever the original context was for that measure of distance, because that would be truly fascinating, since all of that is still encoded into the text, if we could figure out what that really was,
Well, I think that might be a possibility. I haven't researched this very much, and I don't know if anybody else has come to this conclusion. But there is a story, one of the stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about when they're building the rock bridge from South India to Lanka, right?
Ah, okay.
And, you know, of course, Sri Lanka is off, you know, the southeast coast of India.
Right.
And if you look on Google Earth, you can see the remnants of a rock bridge.
Right.
And they talk about how many yojanas long it is. So,
okay, awesome.
In the time to actually, you know, I should look at that because it should be easy to do. It's just measure it on Google Earth and do the calculations and figure out. But I guess I haven't done it because I think even if a yojana was a mile, and they say it's 8 miles, but even if it was as small as a mile or even a little smaller, their distances don't really seem to match reality. They seem like they have some zeros along the way.
Well, that is awesome that there is something like that which can serve as a key for deciphering those measurements. And then, you know, we could apply that to all the other distances that are mentioned. So, yeah, that's truly fascinating.
Yeah, because I guess almost all their distances are in the yojanas, right?
Right,
I don't think they use any other, you don't use any other small measurement for astronomical stuff.
Right. And also, just one final comment, and then we're going to go around the table here. It's my opinion, too, that second Enoch, because Enoch himself wouldn't have, in describing the flat circular Earth and the movement of the sun back and forth between the tropics and the 6 gates of heaven, second Enoch has also been tampered and infected with a heliocentric bias, and it's my opinion that whatever translator translated from the Slavonic into the English, that's what happened, because they tried to apply a 365 and a quarter day, that it's moving below the Earth and things like that, which are really heliocentric biases, but you can still see that what Enoch reveals with the flat circular plane and the movement of the heavenly luminaries above it in the first Enoch is also encoded in the second Enoch, but most people just don't understand that because they haven't re-examined the text with the careful insight that those of us that now have embraced this as postulation are doing in re-examining a lot of these ancient texts. And I've also discovered a lot of new material, which I haven't even spoken about, that I'm waiting to release with my new book. That's the Paradise. It's the third book of this Flat Earth and Firmament trilogy. But I want to give each of you guys a chance to share just commentary on anything as far as what you feel is important with regard to this topic, how it affected your life, and where, you know, kind of where you see us going with this revelation. We'll start with you, Iru.
Okay. Well, my personal experience was a great pleasure to abort this topic because I was, a regular person with a regular life, and with this kind of flat Earth community, I'm start to connect with people around the world, so around the plane, we can say. So that for my personal life bring a lot of knowledge, friendships. I mean, it's fantastic to know new people, and here in Argentina, I'm started to know social people, artists, actors, journalists, doctors. I am in contact with a lot of persons, of people with different professions, and that is very, for my own experience, is very rich to have that kind of access, because you can understand the world differently, because when you have the opportunity to talk face to face with a doctor that is awake, you can see a lot of things that the pharmaceutics and the complex of healthy done to the people, and the same thing apply to other professions. So in that scenario, for me, in my personal life, was really, really good to, enter in these kind of things. Besides that view, I think it's totally necessary to share this first with the family, with the surrounding people, because which is really, you can believe whatever you want. It's a fear, it's a plane, whatever. But the reality is there is a new world order, and there is, there is a lot of perversion. I don't know if I pronounce well, but there is a lot of evil. These people, they don't have any conscience, in other persons, other life forms. So there is a reality out there. There's going to be a chip. There is surveillance. The surveillance, of the social people are really at the top, because we are all the time under vigilance. We are with the pharmaceutical. We are with the food. We are all in all that aspect. The conspiracy are become true. That is, nobody can deny that. So, first of all, if you start to look into the flat Earth, you're gonna go a few steps further more quickly, because this is the mother of all lies. But at least if the people, when they trying to share this kind of knowledge, they need to confront all the other questions from the establishment, so a lot of people, they don't want to talk, because they need to have a lot of knowledge to debate other persons. So at least start to speak about the new world order and this kind of stuff, and because it's a reality. And I always try to put in perspective that if the flat Earth was no sense at all, we don't have presidents and mass media characters talking about this.
Right.
So
attacking it.
Yeah, attacking. Yeah. Yes. So there are 2 plus 2 is 4 in this kind of situation. It's, for me at least, is hand to hand with this all corruptions government. They are all together. They're working all together. The people don't understand, Russia and USA are enemies on the ground, but up in the space they are all friends. For example,
opposition, yes.
Yeah, because they tell no, because if NASA lie, Russia, China, Japan, all those countries are going to talk. No, because they are all the same families. They live like kings. So that is the basis for me. So I encourage everyone to at least take 5 minutes to try to understand this topic, because it's very important for the rest 20, 40 years from now.
And it's deeply affecting us on levels we can't really even understand right now. But yes, Mike, let me give you a chance to share as well, anything you'd like relevant to the conversation.
Well, I would like to give the advice to listeners within the Flat Earth community to keep on doing more research, think beyond the box, don't get sucked into wild theories and bad assumptions. Think clearly, use the scientific method, and use logic. That's very important. If you keep getting your information from mainstream science, you're going to get a lot of confusion with certain things. Basically, you have to start over again and use science the way it's supposed to be used. And that is, for everybody. Measurements and repeatable experiments. Mm-hmm. Like Iru also said, take some time to dive into how conspiracies work and why every government is connected.
Right.
Every government around the world, the world is a stage,
Yes,
and many people do not understand or they cannot cope or fathom that, so to speak, that it's that big. Yes, it is that big. Every government is connected, and it's all a big play. Space agencies are all connected. I just recently saw China put a rocket up into space. And it's ridiculous. And it's on Russia Today, the live feeds, and you see those comments coming. See the comments coming from people who still believe that it's real. And, it's really sad to see those people buy into that crap. If you take. Mm-hmm. If you put off the pink glasses, so to speak, and look at it with real eyes, real scrutiny, you can see that it's fake, and especially the China footage. Come on. I almost wet myself when I looked at it. It's really laughable. It's disgusting, and people gobble it up as
Absolutely.
One comment only. India shoots 140 nanosatellites up in the space a few weeks ago. 140 satellites.
And we've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes remaining, Steve. I want to give you a chance for final comment as well.
Yeah. First, I would like to say that listening to Mike and Iru, I totally agree with everything they said. I mean, my thinking is completely in line with that, and I would add to that what I'm doing and working in this group, we're now able to do more because we all have different, sets of skills, is to do more actual testing, to confirm these things that we've been told and to prove them wrong. I mean, we are, in this respect, we are the scientists, because the scientists that are a part of the establishment, whether they're aware of it or not, are working within a framework, just like, surveyors are working within a framework. They believe what they've been told. They never doubted it. Right. So if their machines tell them something, they think everything's okay, I'm going to be continuing putting out videos. Hopefully I'll be able to do them a little quicker. I'm going to get some new equipment that's going to help me to do some faster renderings, because that gets kind of slow in some of the things that I do. And, put out videos like, one thing, for example, that I think anybody can get to go on to finish the show.
Yeah, it's ending. Hey, we appreciate all of you. Yeah.
Is to put up a CubeSat with a camera on it, like some large camera company like Nikon or Panasonic or whatever. Put one of their cameras on a CubeSat with